I'm Lisa Evers, and this is Street Soldiers.
Box 5 and Hot 97 present Street Soldiers with Lisa Evers.
We hear about it all the time, the gun violence epidemic. But in our urban communities, it's a daily fact of life. Street shootings are on the rise. The question is why. Popular rap song, Pull Up With a Stick, stick is slang for gun, has more than 57 million YouTube views. While guns continue to play a major role in all entertainment, police are dealing with a very real rise in shootings at a time when overall crime is down. And often the finger on the trigger is under 18.
A problem we're seeing is a lot of young kids involved. Very young, 16, 13, involved in the violence.
Al-Tarik Onque, co-founder of Newark Stop Shootin, Inc., says old street codes are gone. Recklessness and the pressure to be the youngest shooter are in.
I want to be the most gangster person from my hood, so I'm going to outdo the guys that came before me. Oh, he shot somebody when he was 15, I'm going to shoot somebody when I was 12. You know, people, them kind of rumors or folklores go through the community for years.
Another phenomenon, community guns that are passed around or rented. The Brownsville shooting in July was done with a community gun used in another shooting.
Through good forensic work and preservation of evidence, we were able to determine that it was a community gun based on DNA evidence.
Aspiring rapper Too Bad was formerly incarcerated on a gun charge. He says he was just 14 when he got his first gun.
It was regular to us, having a gun like, oh, snap. Like, it wasn't an excitement. It was more of like, I got a gun. Now, how can I get money? I'm 14, I just want to get money now.
Onque, who's devoted his life to break the cycle of violence, knows it has to start with awareness.
It's repeated so much that a lot of people are like numb to it, so they're not even know that they're in the cycle or even being a part of it, because it's like a reflex.
This issue has many layers. Let's find out what our panel has to say. Joining me is Too Bad. He's an independent hip-hop artist. He's formerly incarcerated on a gun charge, and he's now an anti-gun activist. Too Bad, great to have you with us.
Thank you, Lisa. Great to have you. Great to see you. And thank you for everyone here that's here.
All right.
And we're going to talk about this gun stuff.
Yes, we sure are. Thank you so much. Also joining us is Al-Tarik Onque. He's the co-founder of Stop Shootin, Inc. He's a senior aide to the last 3 Newark mayors. He's a community activist, and he's one of the co-founders back in 2011 with then Mayor Cory Booker and Street Soldiers Hot 97 in Push for Peace, which has been going now. It's now in its 9th year. So, wow. Al-Tarik, great to have you with us.
How you doing, Lisa?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much. Also joining us is Dr. Darin Porcher. He's a former NYPD Lieutenant, a criminal justice professor, and a law enforcement analyst. Dr. Porcher, great to have you with us.
Thanks for having me. Always a pleasure.
Thank you so much. Darin, when you look at what's happening now compared to back in the day when you were on those streets, is it different? Is there a different code, or was there ever any code?
Well, no, there actually was a code. When we go back to, let's say, like the 80s, when we had the crack wars or the crack epidemic was in play in New York City as well as New Jersey, the Newark area as well, you had the victimization was targeted. When I say it was targeted, meaning if there was a criminal that wanted to hurt someone, the focus was specific to that particular individual. The seismic shift came in the early 2000s upwards, I should say the mid 2000s upwards to now, where you saw the gang culture became more prevalent in the city, and I should say more so in the tri-state area. So when we look at the gang culture, you have a lot more young members that are seeking membership, quote unquote, for their stripes in the streets. And so a lot of this evolved around the trying to get your name out there and earning your stripes as somebody that's in this game as a credible person.
It's just trying to get the credibility.
Right.
Al-Tarik, when you look at what's happening, because you've been at this for a long time, really trying to bring the crime down in Newark and really save lives, and also save lives of young men like Too Bad, to try to give them a role model and help them turn their lives around. What do you see going on? Is it different than it was, 15, 20 years ago?
It definitely is. To be honest, the code would have dissolved anyway. Whether it was gang culture, like you may mention too, it just would have dissolved anyway. Just for the fact that the mere fact that when you're in the streets, you always want to outdo the people that came before you in the streets. So whether you gotta be rawer than them, more aggressive than them, you gotta do whatever it takes to get that name on them. So a lot of the codes would have started disappearing, because a lot of guys that upheld the code that you talked about, they dead now. They are in jail, or some of them are just working and they don't have the tolerance for the streets no more. So they're not gonna be out there. They don't even tell their nephew that live in their house to cool out. And they know he got a 6 Sora or a M15, M1 or something under his mattress right now. He won't even tell them. Just because he don't want to get involved. There's a lot of stuff that play a factor in it, but the code, it was going to dissolve anyway.
It's done. Too bad. How old were you when you first picked up a gun? And tell us how you came to get involved with that.
So about 14 through 15 years old. So basically, is me, my best friend, we steal bikes. So basically, we got tired of people trying to harm us. So every time we steal a bike, somebody try to harm us, then we'll come, and, we'll rob them with the gun. We don't actually shoot them, but we'll flash the gun like, yeah, boom, it's our bike. So we'll go to a different area around Newark, and basically that's how we get around, traveling through bikes. So if someone don't want to get your bike up because no one's gonna get a bike up, you basically, what you gonna do? You're 14 years old, you don't know what to do. You
Right.
go get a gun. That's all you know. Basically, at the age 14, 15 years old, if you have no real support behind you or no real guidance behind you, you're gonna go to the streets, and that's all is in the streets is hurt, harm, guns, drugs. So basically 14, 15 years old, I know for a fact I done robbed somebody with a gun for their bike.
But how did you get the gun? Like how? Because people are saying like, well, we have tough gun laws in New Jersey and New York. It's like, how did you come to get the gun? Like did you just go around the way? Did you,
from
a guy
older.
like there's a hookup, there's a connect?
It's definitely from someone older. Either steal it from older cousin, older brother. Some people, fathers in their homes have guns. It's just like you take it from someone. At 14, no one's gonna sell you a gun.
Even on the streets?
Even on the streets. If they do, it's like you're the same age, like from 14 to 20-something years old. But someone like in their 30s should not sell a child a gun. But I know for a fact, from 14 to 15 years old, you could get a gun from your older cousin, older brother, your
They
own
get from
father.
somebody like that. Al-Tarik, what about
like
that?
A family
Yeah,
member.
that's guns are laying around. Like community guns. Let me borrow that for a second. I want to hit this mark, get this lick. I need this for that for a second. So you could even you can go to your rival hood, or let's just say the ops, and like, yo, I need a slammer from somebody and get it. It's ironic. It's crazy.
It's just part of the thing. Darin, with the Brownsville shooting that we saw in July in Brooklyn, the police, the NYPD said they believe that there was a community gun that was used in that, and there are these community guns that are being used in a lot of these shootings. What exactly does that mean?
Well, when we look at the Brownsville shooting, this was a gang-related shooting, and this was between 2 gang members, or I should say 3 gang members. But when, as the gentleman mentioned, a community gun, oftentimes you have someone that will claim ownership, but oftentimes allow that particular weapon to circulate through different areas of their particular set.
Correct.
So that's why when I mentioned it being a gang set, it's important to know that although this was a gang member that was in possession of this weapon, he oftentimes circulated that weapon amongst members in his set.
Different people.
And right, and then we also a very big thing that we need to point out is where do these guns come from? And this is something, how do they originate? We have some of the toughest gun laws in the city of New York, and one of the things that we need to focus on is we have something referred to as the iron pipeline. The iron pipeline is where these illegal guns come into New York City, the tri-state area.
But they're legally bought someplace else.
They're legal, yes and no. Some of the guns
Or
are
stolen someplace else.
right. There's a combination. The guns are either
Right.
purchased legally, and something that's referred to as a straw purchase. When I say straw purchase, means someone will acquire a firearm in a state like North Carolina, Virginia, Georgia, Florida, etc. They'll acquire the firearm legally with their driver's license, and then they'll sell it to someone, and that's an illegal sale because that person has the expectation of taking that weapon up the iron pipeline, which is 95. Bring it to up
You
to
drive right through Newark and then drive right into the city. And that's it.
They bring these weapons in the tri-state area, and we have the toughest gun laws in New York City, but our gun laws mean nothing because these guns are coming
Because there's
from
so
out
many
of
of them
state.
coming in. We're
That's
taking
correct.
a short break. This is Street Soldiers. We'll be right back.
People are trying to earn their stripes in these hoods that they come from.
Al-Tarik, we're seeing these shootings in these crowded areas, and then we're seeing an increase in shootings, as we just saw recently in New York, 5 people killed within a 24-hour time period, which is kind of like, sounds like the bad old days. Yeah. We see the shootings happening in places where people would never think to shoot before, like broad daylight, kids around. Why is this going on?
So you got it's a few factors that actually create that, say, perfect storm, whatever you want to say, from the drugs they're using, from these promethazine, formaldehyde, Xannies, Droxies, you name it. So they actually walking zombies, you know. So it takes anything. So you just walk around with a gun on you, high out your mind to a level that's incomprehensible, and then you see someone that you got an attitude with from probably even a half a block away, and you just lazy in on them. You don't care about what's going on. It's a park, it's downtown, it's this area, this that. All I know is right now, oh, I'm cooking, oh, there you go right there, I'm about to get it. And that's just that. It happens just like that.
And they just don't think at all. It's just that's for the moment.
How can you think, though?
Too bad. What about that? What about what Al-Tarik just said?
So I kind of agree with that as far as the drugs part. But, like, if you're young right now and your bros just slid and the main person is not there, they're not going to care who's around. Because if you're young-minded and you're high off whatever, Roxy's, whatever, your mindset is not there. You didn't experience no real jail time. You didn't experience nothing, so you're not going to care at that moment. So you're just going to go blasting. So say if you do a shooting, right, you hit my mans. So I come back, you not there, I'm going to make you feel what my mans felt by hitting somebody else. But that's just the mindset of the young person because they haven't experienced no real jail time. They haven't experienced.
So you're saying it's not real to them? They don't think that they're going to get caught? They just don't think it's...
They don't care.
They don't care,
I don't think they process it that... I don't mean to cut you off. I don't think they even process that far about getting caught, about going to jail, about them possibly dying, with whatever they're about to do. All they know is that they're in that moment right now. I'm mooked down. I'm mad as heck because this... we there.
And then they're right there, and then they just pull the trigger. And it doesn't matter how many other people...
Urban seizures across
A
America.
kid got shot on Mother's Day at a Mother's Day event on Springfield Ave. A 14, 15-year-old kid shot in front of the crowd, literally,
That's
on Mother's
horrible.
Day.
But
So I feel bad for that mom forever.
No, totally. And then to have that scarred, it's just these large events. Darren, in terms of New York, when you see 5 people, when you look at everything that's gone on, the police have had trouble with keeping the shootings have been going up in New York, even though the overall crime index, they say, is going down. When you see 5 murders in one 24-hour period, as an analyst, what does that tell you?
One of the things that I think about is it's somewhat reflective of what's happening in the culture of Chicago. If you look at the summer in Chicago, they're experiencing something quite
huge.
similar. And so there are different components that come into this place, come into this socioeconomics and housing. Those are key things that oftentimes represent where these shootings are coming from. So geographically, you have people that will step into situations and they may shoot several people in that area because there's an opposing set in that particular lane. Somebody that your enemy set, so to speak, lives there. But believe it or not, these sets are not far apart. They can be in the same housing development, whereas it could just be one building, one building against the other building. So oftentimes the shooters will step out with tunnel vision and say to themselves, I don't care about these people because they live in the set where my enemy is located. But it goes back to what are we doing in this area? It's somewhat of a tragedy, but it goes back to what, as I mentioned earlier, people are trying to earn their stripes in these hoods that they come from and establish themselves as a force to be reckoned with in these particular areas.
Too bad. Tell me about how the beefing starts. Like, it seems like one guy gets shot, then somebody else retaliates for that, and then it just keeps going and going and going. How do these beefs, like, give us a breakdown of that.
For what age bracket?
Let's talk the young ones.
Okay, so basically, if
The 14, the 15, the 16-year-olds.
If bro and them go slide, right, and they hit somebody, I'm gonna say this again. So now, I take him out. The pain that they feel, they think it's unbearable pain. They think it's a pain that's gonna last for a very long time. So they're gonna they're gonna want they're gonna want you to feel the same way they felt. They don't care if it's an aunt, uncle, grandmother, niece, nephew. They don't care.
And they don't care who gets hit by the crossfire or anything like that.
At all. They will not. They won't even blink. They will just go. Soon as bro gonna slide the same night, the young kids don't care. They will kill you. Like, they won't even jump you no more. At least like one of them or two of them got a gun on them. You getting shot.
You're getting shot right
You're
then and
getting
there.
Shot. They don't know how to fight. The drugs don't allow them to go want to fight.
It's just that simple. Al-Tarik, when you see this cycle, and you've been at this, from both sides for a long time, and really turned a lot of lives around in the process, do you get depressed by this when just this cycle and you see these like 14, 15-year-old kids?
It can be depressing at times because you can really witness a block. Say somebody get killed on Monday. We just use their name. They killed Ra on Monday. You see rest in peace Ra shirts on Tuesday.
Right.
Friday is free black shirts. Now black killed Ra. It's all on the same block. So imagine how that looks for a community. You know what I'm saying? They all grew up with each other. They all knew each other. They killing each other. Free them. Rest in peace. The same people wearing the same shirts. Like so they become so numb, but they don't even know it. So they caught up in the cycle, and it's so vicious that the cycle is actually lapping them now. You know, so
wow.
It is. So they just go in there with, and you gotta really digest that. The same people wear the two different shirts on Monday for the same person in a week, Monday and Friday.
Right, rest in peace for the victim, and then free the person that was the shooter that killed that person. But then, what message does that send to the kids in the community? Because kids are smart, 8, 9, and 10-year-old, they know what's going on.
That send some kids, it sends hatred and anger. You know, they grow up with that anger and they hold on to that and they lash out. Some people, it shuts them down. Everybody reacts to situations differently. You know, when trauma impacts a community, a family, everybody take it different because we don't have these outlets where we can go out and talk to somebody, or we can afford, we don't have insurance to go get someone to talk to for an hour to talk about these mental health and the trauma I just witnessed, or I just seen my cousin get killed right in front of me. I saw my father get killed right in front of me. So they grow up traumatized, man, traumatized.
No, and not just the people, and the people obviously directly affected, that it's their loved one who was shot and killed, but also the community. Anybody that witnessed it, that was in school with him, I
want to touch on something real quick. I mean, keep going, but in '96, I was in the house, and my cousin killed himself. He shot himself in the head. I came out my room. I turned the corner. He still had the gun in his hand, twitching.
Oh my God.
Twitching, right? Just like this, just twitching, just like this. I turned the corner, looked in there. Oh my God, it's about 8 of us in the room, in the house. Everybody left out. Now, and I'm gonna tell you how vicious this cycle is. I never realized how traumatized I was over that, but I always held into it. I shut down, I got quiet. You know what I'm saying? I wound up going to jail like a year later after that for shooting someone, doing 5.5 years. Then coming home, I went back to jail for other gun charges and beat a, homicide, attempted murder, all that stuff. You know the story. I don't want to go into it, but the crazy part is his son, his name was Shaheed. My first cousin's name was Shaheed. My father and his mother's brothers and sisters. My first cousin. So his son was named Rakim. He named Rakim after the rapper Rakim. He was his favorite rapper. He named his son Rakim. I took his son in. I helped raise his son, and his son was killed 4 years ago.
Oh my God.
And I still like the trauma like that. You know what I'm saying? So sometimes
it's like trauma on trauma.
It's trauma on trauma. So I know what I be. Cause I get to talk to people now. I go and talk to people. I got insurance. I can do that. But everybody can afford that. And it's real. Like the people that help people need help too. So it's a lot.
I want to thank all of you for being with us for this episode of Street Soldiers. Too bad. Great to have you on the show. Thank you so
Lisa.
much. Al-Tarik Onque, keep up the great work. Thank you so
Lisa.
much. And Dr. Darin Porcher, thank you so much for being
Always
with
a
us. We
pleasure.
really
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Fine.
And thank you for joining us for this episode of Street Soldiers. Remember, use your mind. It's your best weapon. I hope it's your only weapon. I'm Lisa Evers. Let's push for peace.